Welcome back, everyone, to System Override. I can't believe it's our 12th episode already. And this week we have some great stories. Bree, how was your week?
12th episode. That is
I
very
know.
cool. I was like, we've done quite a few at this point. I didn't realize we'd done 12. So that's a little win. Cool.
And you know what I think about that is so cool is that we did it every week.
Yeah.
So, a great, kudos to us,
Yeah.
but we said we would do it and we've done it and we haven't missed one yet.
I like it. The week has been very busy. It has been a busy week, but I feel like every week is a busy week. But it's
Hmm.
mostly just, coming back from
Hmm.
from when we were in LA. It was a little bit of an interruption of unexpected delay, so feeling like I needed to catch up a little bit. I think it was a week where there was a lot of great work done in that busy week, so super proud of the team. We were just actually talking and glowing about, like, our co-founders and just, like, how much they've been crushing it this week and just, like,
Yeah.
how much they rock, so I think we had a little love fest for them right before this, talking about it. Yeah, so, I mean, all good things, all good and
Yeah.
exciting. Always excited. I'm always excited.
Well, and I think I giggle a little bit in anybody who's, tried to get a product to market
Yeah.
knows that cycle of, oh my God, it's never going to get out the door to, oh my God, look at this. It's so cool to, oh my God, it's never getting out the door. And
Yeah.
we're in that cycle right now. So
We're having a great time, everyone! Everything's great!
exactly. So, yeah, so I'm excited. Everybody listening, stay tuned. Hopefully next week we'll have some more excitement about our app dropping. Yeah, Apple, Google, we need your approval. Super excited. Okay, and we got a heck of an episode. We've been really digging into some different stories of late, taking the opportunity to look at a different side of workplace and employees and get away from the doom and gloom of AI and how bad it's going to be for workers and finding some really cool things. And our first thing we want to talk about though is let's talk about the big ask from last week, which was like, what do you think about your role a couple of years, like what's going to be your job 2 years from now? And will it be enabled by AI or will it be because of AI?
Mhm. My job 2 years from now is the same job I have today, but it's gonna be enabled by AI. I am going to be just a turbocharged human when everything I have all my agents going, I've got all my, stuff that just unlocks the ability for, like, the part that, only I can do as a human to drive the company
Hmm.
forward is all of my time or, like, 99.9% of it with team, with this, with that, and all of the, like, more administrative, manual, like, internal work, doing that has been so streamlined that it's just like, go, go, go. I can't wait.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking too, right? I will have the exact same job, but I will get to spend most of my day on the human to human contact,
Yeah.
out meeting business leaders around the globe, talking to customers about their experiences with League and how their career is progressing and continuing to be able to get that real customer centric humility into our products.
Mhm.
And we don't get enough time to do that today because we are so consumed by all the other little tasky things
Yeah.
that need to be done to run a business, and our agents will be running them all.
Yeah, exactly.
Too excited. Hopefully
Yes.
that is less than 2 years from now,
Yeah,
like
like, I
maybe
like, I'm
2 or 3
hoping for,
months
like,
from now, but
6 months.
yeah. But maybe 2 years from now, those agents will just develop themselves,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
It'll be
I've
like,
got, like,
I won't
Reese
have to
actually
tell it to
already.
build one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Reese made an agent that he's already gonna put on me, so maybe I'm gonna be like, "Reese, make me some more agents. I want some more,
yeah,
yeah,
that's very cool.
yeah."
Okay, so first story is out of the Harvard Business Review as it talks, speaking about AI agents, talks about how companies should onboard the AI agents just like a new employee. So the thought here was that, you really should think about where these agents play a role in the company, what their titles should be, the definition of like their job responsibilities
Mhm.
because it does a couple of things. Obviously, it, defines people are aware that they're there, what they do. You can have an agent org chart, that sort of thing. But it also helps with the change management and the building of trust and, getting rid of some of that doom and gloom that these guys are actually set up to take out the humans in the organization.
Yeah.
And instead, you also get to reframe them.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the premise around the article and why they think this is a good practice. What
Mhm.
are you thinking?
I loved this because I think if you go back to, I don't know, remember which of the 12th episodes we talked about it, but around the fact of like companies not really seeing the results because of that change management piece, because there's a huge disconnect from, the executive layer making this decision to the frontline layer who's implementing it, and then just having the hot potato kind of huffed in and
Hmm.
not really understanding. So the one thing I love about this, which I think from change management is always so helpful to people, is this is a very concrete example of how to translate that concept into implementation. There's a roadmap here, an example, a use case that you can follow to say, hey, step one, and putting some framing around it. Cause that's what I find most people need to do anything new is just an example. They need some
Yeah.
examples to follow. They need something that doesn't feel abstract and like a blank page of like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? Most people do best with an example, a template, a something.
Hmm.
And so I love that this is, and now there's a million ways to make this change happen, but this is an example that this professor from Harvard is really providing to people. It's not the only way you can do it, but it's a very concrete framing around exactly that. Think of the problem it's solving. It's breaking it down in a way that people
Hmm.
can replicate. Think of the problem. Think of how you're going to like do that and treat them as people. Like treat them as people just means give them context.
Yeah.
What powers AI is context, and the more context you can give it, the better it can do for you. So if you just throw it in and give it your company website and say, do some stuff for me, it's not going to have that great of results. And so this actually creates a really structured way to give context, to, put that in and to do that in a way that people understand because they know how to hire people. They know the process that goes along with hiring. So it's like, here's something you know how to do apply that to this, and here's your template. So
Hmm.
I think that's great, and I'm interested to see how many people implement this as a way to actually, put this into their company.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things that comes from it is it also helps you start to reframe the job requirements of the human.
Yeah.
And so if you kind of did them in tandem, then the humans would see that the things that, only humans can do now become, you know, 60-70% of their job. And they have less of this stuff because they have the agent there enabling them to spend more time
Yeah.
on those things that we talked about, like whatever those are for their role. Now, I do think that on the flip side of that, you could have some humans that don't want to do that stuff, and they wanted to do the stuff that's being replaced by an agent or
Mhm.
enabled by an agent. And so I do think they still need to be prepared for that reaction because there are definitely people who, like, for example, love spreadsheets and they
Mhm.
love putting data into spreadsheets and building spreadsheets. And we know that agents are very good
Yeah.
at being able to organize data and put it into spreadsheets and build the formula. That's my favorite part of doing a spreadsheet now is that AI just gives me the formulas. I don't even have to think about it,
Yeah.
right? So, but for somebody who loves doing that, I can see how that might be very scary for them because
Yeah.
now there's definition around the fact that this agent now is doing
Thank
what
you.
I come to work to do every day. So I do think there could be some friction there,
Yeah.
but transparency leads to good change management. Good change management leads to getting people to really understand what their
Yeah.
next evolution of their job will be.
It's really interesting too that like one, I hadn't really thought about it from that lens. And so I love that kind of framing around it. The idea of like a 2-4, like you do have to figure out what the human role is now within it. So like
Mhm.
pulling those together in one exercise is so valuable because it's like, okay, well, what piece stays with Tom and what piece
Yeah.
are we automating or putting into this? So I think that's a really cool like way to like really kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. But as you were talking too around that individual, it just made me think like, what about what's the circumstance for the people who prefer to be more like a robot at work? You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
who shy away from the human side of things. That's not skills that come innately naturally to them. You know, it's really going to be an interesting shift for those people who worked in roles where it was kind of like you're part of teams, but you're more the more technical side.
Yeah.
You weren't like a full tech little shop, like a dev or someone where you're kind of off, still in that kind of a role. Like,
Yeah.
what about if you're one where now this is forcing you to kind of like drop that piece that you were gravitating towards and filling for the team as that role and now reinsert back into the team when that's really not where you have innate skills or
Yeah.
that you even want to have innate skills. Like, because there's a lot of people who are like, I don't
Yeah.
want to talk to anyone. I just want to do my stuff and go
Yeah.
home. And what is it going to do for those people? And how should they be thinking about it?
Yeah, and I think that that's that piece that we often refer to as kinda the rub that's gonna happen before we all figure it out, similar to, any of the other technical revolutions, whether it was the Industrial Revolution where, the farmers were mad because they felt like their jobs were gonna be, replaced by these machines, but then it was sure nicer to use a tractor over, walk behind a donkey and a plow.
Yeah.
And then in .com, like, we talk about it, we didn't have influencers, we didn't have YouTube, people on YouTube making millions and millions of
Yeah.
dollars a year. I think there will be jobs that just don't exist today for people who have those highly analytical, very data oriented jobs because that is not me.
That's
Like that is not my
yeah.
superpower. But they will probably spend more time working with the agents
Yeah.
and because we do know that agents just, at this
Yeah.
stage, you still need guide rails, they still need training, they still need
Yeah.
processes. And so, I think that those, there's still that area,
Hmm.
nobody's saying this transition is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
There will be interruption and there may be even
Yeah.
declines in employment opportunities as we evolve and develop new jobs on the other side.
I do think that's a really interesting signal, though, for those who might find themselves in that position of being like a not a hardcore technical person where you're kind of already in that vantage point. You're kind of in the business, but you're the technical person in the business, and
Hmm.
that might push you away. But this might be an inclination or a signal to you to get curious then earlier. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
want to maintain that space and that role, you're like, I hear all this like people skills are going to be the most newest thing, and I got to learn more about like working on my soft skills on the people side, but that is not for me, then I would be getting really curious and staying ahead of the AI trends, like getting involved in those conversations at your organization, really
Yeah.
leaning into that so that you can be the leader of the AI bots and the one who's helping to set that up. But you're going to need to be versed and ready for that because they're going to turn to who has expertise and understanding in it to help them do that, not to give it
Hmm.
to someone who has no expertise, but just the desire to want to be in that space. So I would lean in
Yeah.
ahead of time if that was the case.
And that is like the most brilliant segue to our next story. I'm
This
like, we
always
didn't even
happens. It's
plan
really,
that.
really good.
But so the next story is exactly that. There was a story out of Shark Ninja, so the company that does the vacuums and the small
I
appliances.
have their vacuum, it's excellent.
Yeah, and I have the slushy machine on a Ninja. It's excellent as well. May crack it open this weekend. Who knows? But they're putting $1 million against their employees being able to design their whole network of agents and where to apply AI into their organization versus using a consultant.
Mhm,
And they really think that they've created a really interesting mechanism within their organization to incentivize people
mhm.
inside their organization to come up with opportunities for AI. What are
Yeah.
you thinking about this?
I really love this signal because I think we have been listening to a lot of stories that talk about the lack of trust between,
Yeah.
company and their people, and I think this story shows again a really great example of a company helping to establish trust and helping to show it's almost like, you know, kids playing Red Rover. You're, like, worried about, like, are you gonna get called over? Are you gonna be part of the team that they're asking? And they're putting out a very, like, calming tone to everyone to say, "We're
Mhm.
invested in you and this team, but this is something we need to use. So how are we going to
Mhm.
do this together? Not how are we going to do this to you?" And so I think that is, like, the most powerful unsaid message in exactly what has happened here is having a company set those signals and say, "Y- we value you and we want you to be a part of this change with us and help us figure." Now, obviously, there's always still stress and, like, cynicism, like, it could be employees being like, "Oh, sure, you're just gonna do this to fire me, like, get me to work out of my own job," and that you know what, like, I would hope that's not the case, and I would hope they wouldn't be so publicly kind of, like, advertising this if they were gonna do
Yeah.
that. I think that's the signal to me. If a company was gonna do that, they would do this in private because you don't put this whole, like,
Yeah.
"Look what we're doing, employees," and then next week, it's like, "Shark Ninja just fucking fired everybody," and so then it's like I would feel confident in that if I worked for them, that I don't think they'd be putting these kind of news things out there if they were gonna do a move like that, and so I think it's in the genuine
Yeah.
camp as far as, like I just think that's really cool, and I also think it's what's true because, when I was in energy, it was really hard space for consultants to come in and actually do something meaningful because you don't it's a technical space, and if you
Mhm.
don't understand the business, like, to that level of degree, your solution is
Yeah.
not effective, and so I think from this similar kind of thing, it's like,
Yeah.
that's always been the problem with consultants. They don't understand unless it's a really simplistic business that, anyone can know, but if you have anything proprietarily running, it's like and kind of complex, like it usually doesn't meet the mark. So I think this
Yeah.
is a better strategy for them anyways.
And I think one of the things here is, this is clearly part of their culture. Because
Mhm.
in 2025, they also did something similar to, they had a challenge to figure out how to mitigate the tariff impact on their
Mhm.
business. And they went right to their employees to generate the ideas. So I think what's very interesting here, like this is, that headline is all about AI and using their employees to do that. But if we peel back the onion a little bit, we
Mhm.
find out that Shark Ninja is just a great culture.
Yeah.
And it creates a culture where their employees feel that they have impact. And
Mhm.
as we know, humans, that's one of the most important things for humans,
Yeah.
mental well being, is to
Yeah.
really understand where they actually have impact in the world and that it doesn't matter, not everybody has the same degree of impact. That impact just needs to be felt
Yeah.
authentic to them. And so I think that that's pretty cool that we can see culture being built around these things and not scare tactics, and
Yeah.
instead, you know, trust between the employees and their leaders
Mhm.
is really strong
Yeah.
when they do things like this.
Well, and what a great opportunity to take something that's happening today and that's very
Hmm.
timely and relevant and turn it into something really positive. And so, like, I think
Hmm.
we're seeing a lot of companies turn this into a negative kind of thing. And, like, how can you, again, I think it's more that expansive mindset. Like, how can we adopt this and also have another use case that we can bring our team tighter together and really work
Yeah.
together on? Because going through big shifts like this, like, it's kind of like, you always talk about the wartime friends you have at a company, right? Like, you go through
Right.
the nitty-gritty together and come out the other side. Those bonds are like
Very
brother
strong.
like, they are like, yeah, band of brothers. And so, like, you're taking a bullet for those people. And so, like, what a great opportunity to try to, like, further establish that in your company.
Yeah. Yeah. Four of us might have left a certain company and all joined
But
arms to
it's
do another company because we have those same great experiences and tight bonds because we
yeah.
went through a really hard time to build something
Yeah.
that didn't
Not
exist
easy
before.
to build something big, and I think
No.
funny because I actually saw on LinkedIn for that company, they're calling it like the mafia because we all spin out, but we
Mhm.
all are attracted to each other still. And I think
Mhm.
one, and there was a certain type of people there who were very incredible and smart. And so we all got addicted to each other in that
Mhm.
way. And then also, too, because you went through like an incredible experience of building something, and that's like a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And even if you don't know people that well, I feel like if you find out you both work there, it's kind of like a brotherhood in that way or sisterhood.
You just automatically
Yeah, we're
yeah,
friends on
show me your tattoo.
exactly, right? And so I think that's cool.
I do too. I think it's a great thing. Just like anybody who's worked for Uber
Yeah,
or Apple or LinkedIn, like they all have, gone through that
yeah.
same builder mentality that is hard.
There's
It doesn't matter which one of those companies you're in.
it's just hard
It
to
is
build something.
hard work and
Yeah,
it is crazy and it works at such a pace that, most people who've never been in that can't understand.
yeah,
And so you are bonded together. So I kind of think these kind of things, maybe these like exercises with
yeah,
inside of Sharp Ninja also play that role where they get that frenzy and
yeah,
excitement to do something big, but it's not easy.
yeah,
Like, they're not having a contest and spending $1 million on crappy ideas.
yeah,
Like these are ones where people are going to have to really put some time and energy and collaboration into what the best ideas are.
yeah. I'm just waiting for the call when we all get tattoos, It's like
Yeah. It's gonna say Neo Mafia on it. Okay, so our third story that I wanted to take a look at today was there's a theme of trust in every single one of our stories today. This is one that has been a motivation behind League for us because it really is talking about that crisis we see that is breaking trust between the job seeker and the employer that is looking for employees. This is clearly broken. There is, some craziness going on using tools and technology for the applicant. They never, we hear story after story of people who apply for jobs and never get called back. Like, remember I was talking to that student and I'm gonna steal his line where he told me 100 resumes, one interview, still no job,
yeah,
right? Like that, even the most resilient people, that's a pretty hard flow to go through. And then employers are saying like they're seeing, you know, all the resumes are generated by AI now. They got false
yeah,
credentials. Nobody's have he has any authenticity.
yeah,
And those that are playing it straight and actually putting a resume out there that is their actual credentials is like not meeting the mark against AI, and so they're not getting any interactions with the employer. And this has been spinning for several years, but it is really heightened, probably because there's a lot more uncertainty and a little bit elevated unemployment rates in the economies around the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought this was really interesting because I think in the whole hiring process is like one of the places where I feel like AI was put in like early out of the gate, not just as conceptual or an internal thing, but it was like an externally broad, utilized and implemented piece. Like this
Yeah.
is where it existed universally. And I think it's interesting to like hear a lot of this because I think we haven't really thought, and you see this in a lot of like the AI news on the really like leading bleeding
Hmm.
edge. Just like what are the guardrails and the ethics that we are putting around
Yeah.
AI as far as acceptable use or not? Because right now it's a goat rodeo. Anything goes. You know what I mean? Like, you want another pig, you want a new animal in there, throw it in there. We got goats, we got rabbits, we got this. We're blending them. Now we have a goat rabbit. And it's just like, Jesus, where's the line? And so I think like that's where we need to really, I don't, that wasn't a great one, but
You do, I'm thinking we're getting a new Stampede event. This it's
I'm
a
just
goat
this is the time of year
rodeo.
to get excited for Stampede. It's just on my mind. I'm like wearing
Got
I'm like I was looking at my laundry pile as like all a Canadian tuxedo of like denim and denim. Like I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, have I worn anything other than jeans this week? Like I don't think I have. I'm just excited. It's coming.
We're getting into the rodeo
I
season.
love it. I love Stampede. But I think too that it's just like we haven't really thought like 'cause so a lot of this article was around, ghost postings and, like, fake
Yeah.
candidates on, like, each side, and so there's a lot of gamification happening, but at the expense of, like, a real genuine process, which has a lot of stress tied to it of getting, like, a
Mhm.
job, and so, I think in the past, there's certain things, and, like, I'm trying to think of an example of one, but, there's certain things where it's just, like, the unspoken, it's like, "Bro, that's not okay. You can't do that."
Yeah.
Like, and so, like, I think we don't have that right now around how we're thinking of AI, how we're using that, and it is a little bit of the, like, losing that human consideration, I guess, it would
Yeah.
be the way I would call it, in a process is that people was like, "Yeah, why wouldn't we? Let's gamify the shit out of this. We got the bots. We can find
Mm.
out all the good candidates, like, do this and, like, find out what's a good role, where there's people seeking, and, like, use that without thinking, well, those are real people out there who are, like, here's a father who got laid off, who's worried about feeding his family, and he just wasted
Mhm.
6 months with you on a fake job that doesn't exist, and now he's in a really hard position with his family and wondering how he's gonna take care of them because you kinda, like, fucked him around for 6 months, and so, like,
Yeah.
I think, like, we're losing that story of, like, "Hey, that's not okay to treat people like that, and there's a line here that we need to all, like, get back into, like, this isn't a video game, like, these are real people, and, like, there is a certain alignment of respect." I don't know, what do you
And
think?
we're messing with, like, jobs lead to financial outcomes, and those financial outcomes
Yeah,
are what humans need to feel valuable in the
yeah,
world, whether that is feeding their family, sending their children to school,
yeah,
taking care of a loved one, going on a, celebration, holiday, whatever that you're using their money for,
yeah,
they can't accomplish any of that that worth without having that job. So we are really playing with humans here. And when the machines are not being effective to bring the two groups of humans together,
yeah,
maybe we need to rethink about how we're using technology. And to your point, AI went into this process very early, but it
mhm,
was on the backs of algorithms and automation that wasn't working before that, right?
yeah,
Like, instead of figuring out how to fix the overarching issue, there's
yeah,
just more of this, and AI's even enabled more. Like, there's just more. I've seen more systems like come out and advertise, use this one instead of, don't use LinkedIn anymore. Instead, use this new one because it's
yeah,
better, and it's not better, right? Because these large language models need to be trained. They can't be, and you would want them to
yeah,
be personalized,
yeah,
for your particular type
yeah,
of offering and
yeah,
value that you're adding. So I do think this one concerns me a lot because you do see people want to give up when they have no way to
yeah,
get to the human, because it is a highly human process. And
yeah,
yet the two humans
yeah,
very rarely see each
yeah,
other.
yeah,
And that is odd.
yeah,
That piece is definitely broken
mhm,
because I've never hired somebody strictly from a piece of paper.
yeah,
I always need to meet them and interact with them and get a good, get both sides need to get a good understanding of whether they're people that you can work together or
yeah,
not. And so we are eliminating so many people based on the fact that their application didn't make the cut, or the AI
oh, shit,
excluded it based on something,
yeah,
or the hiring managers looking at something going, that can't be real. There's no way that's real, and discarding somebody's credentials, which maybe they are real,
yeah,
right? So I just this one I feel like we need a
yeah.
complete override here.
Yeah. Well, and I think from that too, it's like, well, where is this all being coming out of? It's coming out of the HR groups. So I think we need to
Yeah.
talk like who's running these processes. It's the HR groups and the HR leaders. And so I think this is a conversation that needs to be had within those groups to be like, hey, HR team, what does
Yeah.
HR stand for? Human resources. Do we need to remind ourselves a little bit around that capacity and that it also extends beyond the borders of our company? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, what do we stand for in this role? And what are we trying to accomplish here? Because it feels like it's become a bit eroded. And I know HR always has the really hard position of being essentially like, you know, having to do your job, but also having to, like, report directly to executive leaders who may or may not agree with the way that, you know,
Well,
certain things, and I know
yeah,
that's a pain point I've heard a lot of HR leaders, talk
yeah.
about.
You always have to defend your role, the costs of your part of the organization, right?
Exactly.
We talk to HR leaders all the time,
All the time.
and we know that that is, anytime they wanna spend money,
Yeah.
they've got to be able to prove it
Yeah.
definitively,
Yeah.
where, if the growth team wants to spend money, it's like, "Sure, how
Sure.
much can I write you a check for?"
Exactly. And so, like, I think not necessarily having the understanding from my vantage point, but if I'm in HR, like, the questions I'd be challenging back to you is like, what are you trying to accomplish? How are you trying to accomplish it? Is this a way you thought you were gonna like it's like, however you're trying to do it, this might not be the right, like,
Mhm.
way to do it. And so, like, go back to the, like, what are we trying to really get? Is it really good candidates? Is it a market pulse point? Is it whatever? Is this the right way we should be doing that as an organization? Because that also reflects on you. Like, people
Mhm.
aren't going to trust you coming in if they know that that's how you treated this or that. And then you might be getting a certain kind of candidate as a result of that too. Because it's not like people don't talk or there's not, Reddit threads or,
Right. Yeah,
door reviews on
Glassdoor.
these kind of things, yeah, and so, like, how do you think about that, and what are you trying to accomplish, and is this the
Mhm.
best way? Because I don't think this is really helping company outcomes either, you know what I mean? Like, you're not
Yeah,
getting what you want out of this scenario either, this is kind of a lose-lose situation, so
yeah.
let's rethink a little bit.
I agree. And maybe this is like if we kind of think about our first story where, thinking about how you onboard agents, AI agents, then, it might be time to just rewrite, the whole mechanism for how you resource and onboard humans as well. And because one of the things I saw in this article was companies talking about how they post stuff but hire internally.
Mhm.
Okay, I've worked for so many companies that do this. They have a policy around they must hire or they must host outside,
Yeah.
even when they have an internal candidate. Help me to understand why that is still a policy. It is
Everybody has this
heartbreaking.
policy, I don't understand it.
I've never understood it. Like, because you have an internal candidate that's been being groomed for this role, has been many times I was a person doing that role, been doing that role for months and months and months in a
Yeah,
vacancy, and then all of a sudden they were told they had to post externally and go through the
yeah,
process, which delayed it again another 2 or 3 months.
yeah,
So it upwards of 6 months I would work in a role, not being paid, probably doing 2 roles,
yeah,
and then finally get it. But it's a lot of stress
yeah.
that is not and diminishes trust
Well, that's the
between you
thing,
and the
it's like,
employee.
so
Like,
say the
don't do
next
it.
you probably
Yeah,
just leave, you know what I mean? Like, you're like
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, and so I don't understand that. I get why, you might say to an internal candidate or a group of
yeah,
internal candidates, "We're also gonna post externally," because there might be some value in bringing in some additional skills.
yeah,
Cool, but be very transparent about it because it
yeah,
does create lots of anxiety and
yeah.
that it was in this article and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, companies, can you not get it together?" And just understand the cost of doing that and the number of people that you lose in the trust,
There
you know.
has to have been, like, some case where the company just lost so hard from a legal perspective, and so now it's just embedded as, like, a baseline into all process to, like, safeguard yourself from whatever this one circumstance is, like, I don't know what it is, but I don't think I've had a
Yeah, because
single
I'm trying to think like what would be illegal about hiring somebody you already had internal
well, there must have been
versus
something where they got in shit for, like, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. It was one thing I would question all the time when I was in corporate world.
Like, yes and no, because there's, like, preferential crap that happens all the time, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't see how that's any different.
I
That's
was
the
just saying, this doesn't stop for being preferential, for
yeah,
sure. Like most of the time when I would hire post externally, it was because I was looking for, maybe a differentiation of
mhm,
skills. But
yeah,
I had definitely not had somebody who was already earmarked for that role.
yeah,
And so often I see people that are earmarked for it and then
yeah,
they still go through this process, which just really
we had that all the
creates a
time.
bad
Yeah,
experience. Yeah. And
yeah.
sometimes I don't know how long sometimes it takes to get that back, to build that trust back.
I don't
It's,
know, I think it's one of those things that you don't realize, it's just like the constant just, like, tiny chipping away.
right.
I don't think you do get it back. I think it's just like what threshold of chipping do you get to? And I think
Yeah.
companies don't realize you do these like tiny little chip, 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 chip. And then by the end, it's like you've
Yeah.
chipped past the line. I have too many
Yeah.
chips. Now I have other decisions that I'm making.
Yeah. And an internal candidate is usually your top performing people.
Always.
Right? So, like, you're not really promoting your bottom
Yeah.
quartile people, you're promoting your top people. So,
Yeah.
the damage that you're doing to those top people, that is unnecessary, in particularly in a
Well,
job market like it is today.
unnecessary, but also to yourself. It's like I think most of the times that I've left, like all the times I'm like looking for a different thing. I think I intentionally left one job and role because I wanted to get into a better position just market wise when oil and gas was
Mhm.
crashing, and I wanted to go to
Yeah.
TC because it'd be more stable and we were going to start a family and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But otherwise it was always because I just didn't feel
Mhm.
like, it was like those chips had happened
Yeah.
or whichever, then I would just and I'm the kind of person where it's just like, "You treat me well or
Mhm.
love in everything." It's like, "You treat me well or I will just leave, and I will leave."
Yeah.
If I decide that that's what will happen. I know my value and I will go, and I would always have, bosses be like, "What? I was gonna build the whole department around you, this, and that." And it's like, man, should've told me that 6 months ago. 2 ships are
Yeah.
done. Ships are laid. I mean, I'm a Leo, and I think that's just how we behave, but,
It's how we behave.
You didn't know what you got? Sorry, gotta go.
Yeah. It does say that about Leos,
Yeah,
extremely patient until that
until the line
moment,
is crossed. Yes, exactly. So much patience.
just
So
like a
much.
lion,
Yeah,
walk
exactly.
gently through
Right?
the
Yeah,
Sahara,
exactly.
and then they like pounce.
Yeah. And then you're like, "I know I'm a fucking lion. I have never had to, like, apply for a single I've always had, like, a reco in, like, I've never had to, like, cold go into a job in
Yeah,
my life. I've always been poached, and, like, it's like, there's a reason."
yeah, exactly. So interestingly here, I don't know how this one gets solved if we don't get some people really starting to take a hard look at the process and what they're doing as an organization.
Yeah.
But I think this one is at that cracking point. I think employees and employers are very upset. We can't get the right people to the right places. And then you layer on the anxiety around AI shifting the jobs.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this one's a tough one, and I wish we had a really good answer for how you solve it,
Yeah. Totally.
but it is a tough one for sure. I guess the only thing I guess we could add here is that, in our experience is people spending time with their networks, making sure they're reaching out, keep it,
Mhm.
getting asking for introductions because the human to human is still how you get a job.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a job,
Yeah.
make sure that you don't hesitate to ask people,
Yeah.
and ask them to make introductions to you and that sort of
Yeah.
thing, versus relying on your resume making it to the human on the other side of the computer.
I almost wondered too if there's like a percentage confidence signal to it, like, because not all jobs are 100% baked. So it's like, is this 100% role or is this like a 50%? And then people could make their
Right.
own choices. If they're like, I want to take the risk, this might not be like fully going ahead, but there's an opportunity here and I want
Mhm.
to see it through, then at least you're giving people a sense of their own like
Yeah.
stepping into it knowingly, being like, if I 100% need a job, I only can apply to the 100% that I know are
Hmm.
real and that are going to land. If I am exploratory myself or like there's just certain things I'm really looking for, and so like is this a 50% viability of this going forward, but this is my dream role and I have
Hmm.
time, then maybe that's the way to like get around it for now, like just
Yeah.
as signals, maybe that would be nice.
Yeah. The other
Yeah.
thing, I haven't tried this or seen somebody do this, but I heard it on another podcast
Mhm.
around, particularly go back to the AI and building AI solution
Yeah.
for an organization and then bringing it to the CEO or
Yeah.
somebody else, because you can get access to a CEO pretty easily.
Yeah.
But if you're solving a problem for a leader in
Yeah.
today's world on how busy we are, if somebody brought me a solution for something that
Mhm.
was already built and they could just like give it to me, that might get them a job.
Yep.
Right? So, because the one thing that maybe people don't know is that as leaders, we have the authority to build jobs for people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's
Like,
actually very true. Like, if we think you're good, we will
yeah.
make a job for you, even if we weren't thinking about it this second, you know?
Yeah. So that might be the tip here for people that are really in this case into those that have similar stories around the hundred applications, one interview, no job scenario is, did you think about ways that you could show your value to a leader
Yeah,
and then knowing that that leader can build
yeah.
a job for you if they really love what you're doing. So, and
I think
in that way too, you get to really build some stuff and keep yourself busy because
yeah.
part of not being employed is hard. You're sitting around not doing what you want to do.
Well, we had an individual do that with us at
Yeah.
Leaf. She was incredible. Like, we met her at an event. We were talking about, what we were doing and what we were we were maybe needing help around this or that. But the timing was maybe like, we're not sure,
Mm,
like in the future, or whatever. But she took that away. She got engaged without us even asking. We didn't even
mm,
know. She wrote out this like huge value add to us as far as like, feedback, testing, this, and this,
mhm.
and gave us this incredible document and was like, "Here, like, it's for you, but, like, I love what you're doing, this, and that," and we were all so impressed by just, like, 1, the quality, and then 2, how she showed up and managed that. That's exactly what she did, and we're like, "Well, fuck, we gotta make it."
Find her a job. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. I really forgot about that, and that we all we didn't even confer outside the conversation. We're like, yeah, we'll be back to you with something.
Yeah, like, I literally, like, Shannon sent me away from the table because I was about to be like, "I will hire you." She's like, "Get out of here. We're still talking."
Yeah. So there's our tip on this one. I can't solve the system problem, but we can give you some tips on ways to find jobs for
Yeah,
sure. Okay, big action for this week. Given that we've been talking about trust and
yeah,
that human interaction, which I guess show up in most of our episodes, but we really want to make sure people are having honest conversations about AI. So, that could be, we challenge everybody this week to have at least one conversation with somebody about AI, and it could be as like that you're really frustrated and you don't know what to do, and you're listening to all the controversy about it, and it's really causing you anxiety. Could be
mhm,
sharing, like, one of our employees is building all this stuff in co-work now, and he's like so excited, and he's showing
yeah.
all of us like those kind of conversations. So I thought that might be a nice action item based on what we've been talking about today.
Yeah, I like that. I like that, and 2, like, it could be just, I'm overwhelmed and I don't know where to start, or I am unengaged in it because I don't feel like it's relevant to me and I'm not
Yeah.
interested. I think just any of those, like, genuine, "Where are you at with it right this moment?" conversation will be helpful in learning something in whatever
Mhm.
you're having. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think this topic is so big and so global that it doesn't matter who you talk to about it, they'll have thoughts, opinions, and maybe they align to what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And it would be just a really great, genuine human to human conversation. Yeah.
We do like
All right.
those.
We do like those. We do spend a lot of time in those human to human conversations. So I hope that all of you guys enjoyed today's episode, really talking about trust and building that trust framework throughout work. If you loved what we had to say today, we really would appreciate you following us, sharing it out to your network, and always listening every week. So thanks.
Or reach out with your answers. I wanna hear them.
That's a great idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
putting things in the comments would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Bree. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.